So let's address the oil leaks here on this truck a little bit. It was leaking from a few places for sure that I can tell. And this just goes to show how when you work on a vehicle like this, and I'm speaking for myself here included because I'm not a 7.3 expert, but doggone it, if you're going to do the work on this, do some research on it yourself first and take it to someone who actually knows what they're doing. This friend of mine took this vehicle to a shop and they told him that the rear main seal was leaking, the transmission was going to have to come out, and it was going to cost thousands of dollars to fix, and it wasn't going to be worth it. Well, if you spend 30 seconds researching a 7.3 oil leak on the Ford forums, everyone is going to immediately tell you to go to the top of the engine first, as that's where the oil leaks are known to happen on these engines. 7.3 diesels very rarely leak from the rear main. You'll see that all over the forums. Talk to a Ford diesel tech, all of those guys are going to tell you that stuff. So he passed on having the oil leak repaired because he thought it was going to cost him thousands of dollars, and that's not even where the oil leak was coming from. So let me show you what I found here. If you take a look in the valley of the engine, you can see there's fresh engine oil puddled back there. Then there's a hole in the back of the engine there at the V on the passenger side. That's where all the oil's running down from. That's why it appeared to be coming from the rear main seal, because that oil runs down in between the transmission and the engine around the bell housing, and it looks like it's coming from the rear main, but it's not. Take a close look at the Icp sensor here. Inside you can see fresh oil inside the connector. It's obviously leaking, just like oil pressure sending units do on a lot of GM vehicles. If you're familiar with the 3.9 and the 3.5, commonplace for those to leak, and it's the same way here. And you can see the oil running down the top of the engine, a little bit down the front here, but most of it's going down the back and leaking out towards the back as it runs down the engine. The other place too that's a common area to leak on these engines is the turbo pedestal seals, and that was really easy to verify. Here's the turbo pedestal right here. This is what the turbocharger sits on. It pumps oil up to the turbocharger, lubricates and cools the bearing, and then it runs back down in the engine. Couple places this was leaking. Obviously, if you look at the wastegate solenoid here, you can see that it was leaking. We got some oil running down there. But even more so, look on the back here. There's no seals on there, but you can see where the seals would be. This is the back of the pedestal. And then you take a look at the engine, it's covered in oil where those two seals are at. And if you pull those seals out, they're hard and brittle and no longer sealing, and that's why it was leaking oil. Last but most certainly not least, diesel fuel is oily, so diesel fuel can sometimes be confused as an oil leak, especially if it's mixing with it. But I found what was happening as well, we've got the fuel petcock drain valve seals leaking. That little yellow valve there, I've got a video on YouTube about this. It's got a lot of views. It's helped a lot of people out. That was leaking as well, kind of mixing with the engine oil that's already leaking here to begin with, and just making the problem look that much worse. Here is the turbo seal kit from Ford, and it comes with everything that you need to do this. Look in the bag here, you've got the little clip for your wastegate lever. These are the two bolts for the turbo. And then you have all the seals here. Open this up and show you what all's inside. Got some little clips there, just a whole bunch of O-rings to reseal your turbo pedestal and the turbo itself. Everything you would need to reseal the oil passages on this turbocharger. In this case here, since the only parts that are leaking are the seals on the turbo pedestal, that's what I'm going to replace. Now take a look at these seals here. You can see how flat they are. This is why they're leaking, and they've been exposed to so much heat over so long of a period of time that whenever they bend, they just break, just like that. And this is why the oil is leaking from the turbo pedestal seals. They've gotten brittle, and now they're just breaking right in half. They're no longer sealing.